markets has been shaken around the globe. What you're watching in front of you is crypto market getting shaken. But you do see one pattern where the price action is coming back down to test that. Yes, it did wick lower. The price did drop. You're watching a lot of different odds playing out in the market. XRP is back about 0.5 and it touched just below 0.44. If you do look at the volume, if you do look at the pattern, you kind of get to see something in the weeds there. And when you go back into the scientific investor family, you get this thought process. Look for the support, a rejection into 0.44. Now we reached just below that. We talked about the altcoin market slowing down from this pattern to the downside, getting hammered, saying, guys, wait. Yeah, I know this is a journey where you need a lot of discipline and support, but this was what we were expecting while the price was still here. And now that we reach that level and we are playing out a lot of different games, the manipulative games from the whales. Remember, a month back we shared this. If this is the thought process, then we're going to drop to these levels, 2143 in Ether. Right now you saw what happened, and with Bitcoin the thought process was like this. If such a crazy move comes into the market, we were expecting something like this. We came really close, but yeah, we didn't touch that support zone. There can be some deviations. It's history and it's patterns we were looking at. But right now, my question is, how many of you actually were able to get into the market at these levels? How many of you were really able to get into the market below this zone? So the daily close, which just came in right now, shows you the daily close came at 2412, where the bottom was 2111. This is Ether. If you look at XRP for that matter, the lowest point was 0.44. The daily close came in 0.488. So the market is showing you different signs. Just use it correctly. When someone says something, look at the history, look at what the price action has done. Here we are above 55K, which is a strong level of support. The pattern in itself is arguing something. We may go higher. We may go back to 70,000 first. If we don't break, yeah, it's done. You're going to come back down to 45 at that point. But right now, the thought process is to the upside. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. I've been watching some of these comments where you say, I just added 20% more into my XRP bag without putting in one drop more in dollars. So you use this drop correctly. You use the thought process delivered close to 0.63, 0.6 at the right time. So you got that drop 20% and you entered. So you added more units into your portfolio. If you are adding more when the price is dropping like this, that benefits as well. Maybe your cost basis is lower and you're adding at these drops. That helps your portfolio. But understand this. This is the crypto market, excluding Ether on the altcoin side. And you see, we have seen somewhat similar drop before in the same pattern. So close to 30% back then, close to 30% right now. But the price action came back into this pattern. So that gives you a little bit more sense of there is a lot playing out in terms of history repeating or rhyming itself. So the argument was about the retest here. If that's so, you're about to see a 50% drop. And right now you go back, say you take in the chart of Ether, you pull it back to a weekly chart. I would argue that's important. Why so? This wick bottom, which came close to that trend line, it's not only that trend line acting as a support, it's also these rejection points. So you are now coming back after your wave one to retest this zone. What comes after wave one? You can look through the history, you can learn from the history, and that's where the price action gives you the idea that when you retest these rejection points and bounce off, that's the good time of that season. But to enter into such, you need to go through these downturns. It doesn't feel positive, especially while you are in that, especially while you're dropping like that. But keep this idea in your mind. We had one day which was so volatile, the price action pushed a lot of people to the downside and they kicked out. So the whales kind of knew what they were actually doing. Now remember, if you are not a fan of the macro pattern, look at what you're watching on the micro as well. So this is short term, not micro. But you get to see this. You dropped with high momentum to the downside. This is what we argued here in that trappy scenario, the slippery slope thought process. They will trap you. That was a week back. The micro trap. That was a week back. So you got all those delivered in here with the thought process of, guys, have 10, 20% dry powder. Now you understand why that's important to have some dry powder, because the whales will play their game. They'll not change their game for us. Rather, we'll have to adapt and understand what may come in. Yeah, for sure, no one would be able to time the market absolutely at the bottom and the top. It's going to be super hard. And if you are that lucky, the God Almighty is with you to do that, fine. You are that one guy. Other than that, very limited amount of people come to understand that this is a support and buy there. Scientific investor family did that yesterday. One, it was a break to the downside. We waited, and as soon as the momentum increased, we added one. Then we added another slot here, which now looks good actually. The point of entry looks really good. So right now, when you look at the Bitcoin, when you look at XRP, the crypto market, you get to see one thing. The worst case scenarios which we talked about back in the days, it's playing out. So the whales are interested not in the best case scenario, but in the worst case scenarios. Back then, the thought process I delivered was, okay, guys, watch, we're going to do something like this. And if we break this, retest, and get rejected, we'll have to come back down here. Now, this pattern is still relevant within that macro channel. So the argument would be, yeah, you'll have a bounce, you'll come back down to retest that bottom, and then bounce back up where you have some room to the upside. If you do take till October, yeah, you're going to talk about 80,000. But if that reversal happens within August and you're talking about the highs in September, then yeah, most likely it's just 75 to 80,000. So there is going to be that divergence. Don't go highly levered in here. Now let me explain that to you. In the most basic terms, the simplest forms, keep this in mind. You go on a 4-hour chart. Whales are hunting. So they give you one candle on a 4-hour saying, I'm about to reverse, and it's going back up. But then, on a higher time frame, you're looking at this and putting the argument, whoa, that was one big candle, and most likely you go up here, choppy, really choppy, you slowly grind up here and then get rejected to the downside to retest the same bottom. Now, can that be the perfect scenario? No, for sure. Because your trend line would look something like this, and you may come back to the trend line. Maybe that can wick down to make a new low as well. Don't be surprised, because you're still in the pattern and your support will come in there. The bounce would be there. If you are thinking about leverage, then this is that zone. You want to go in at the bottom. You want to go close to the bottom, if not at the bottom. Because a 30% drop in Bitcoin, while you're trending higher on the macro, historically shows you something. Now, remember, on the monthly chart, this is where you focus your attention onto. You take in your indicators, you are looking at this. You saw that the RSI has historically given you these signals, which says, I'm topping out. But here, you're still waiting for that final top out signal. So if you plot this correctly, we want to be accurate or as close as to it as possible. And this is what we're watching. So if we do bounce in August, that plays out perfectly. Now you may get a negative divergence within the monthly Bitcoin chart. Remember, we talked about this for last 2.5 years to let you know this is what is going to play out. Most likely that's going to play out. Now it is playing out. How can we use it? These are the times where the market is truly shaken, and you want to use that. How do you use that? When the price drops 20, 30, 40%, especially you go into the crypto market, you're looking at, say, for example, last 7 days to the downside, you have some of these assets which got battered, smashed, obliterated. Now you look at some of these projects and ask the question, do you think they have some kind of fundamentals? Whether you want to take Maker, whether you want to take FTM, whether you want to take Pepe, it's up to you. But go into those charts, take those assets on a monthly or a macro, weekly, it's up to you. Then look at their chart and ask the question, are they forming higher highs and higher lows, or are they putting in lower highs and lower lows? The accumulation range has been battered here. The retest is very shaky. You got the A, B, C, which is very choppy. Your actual bottom of the Wyckoff is here. But then you're starting to look like you're doing the 1, the 2, the 3. So you completed wave 1, which means you'll have to retrace 90% back into that move. You're doing that now. So a break from this pattern is all that you're looking at. If you're micro trading, yes, this matters. This resistance matters on the FTM chart. If you're longing this asset, no. You are most likely looking at buying in at the bottom, which is kind of what the RSI is showing you on a weekly chart here. Or if you want to time it a little bit more, you're looking for a breakout from this channel. It's both ways easy for you to do. If you want massive support, help into the market, showing you the odds, whether it's good or bad, you have to be in the scientific investor family where we went through all of this. Especially look at last 1 week. It was not easy to come out there and say, guys, watch, I think it's about to drop another 12%. So if you are to buy at a support, then this is where you should do that. Now we reach there, right? Timing it perfectly through the wick, it's going to be super hard unless you are a robo. And I'm not a robo, so I fail to do that. But on the other side of the equation, to understand these are some of the odds out there in the market, and these are possibilities, be in the scientific investor family. Use the link in the description to reach there, to do a one-on-one session with me, to go through your portfolio, and I'll share you my thoughts about your portfolio and how you have positioned in the crypto market. So guys, if you received value, smash that like button for me. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.